my world crashed, or I thought it did, but I had this huge safety net. And so many people were like, oh, you're so strong. And like that, just, I don't know, the kind of cliche around all of that.
Mhm.
But I was because of my connections. And that, that is resilience. Like having that soft place to land. One of those pieces is connection.
Hello, and we're back with another episode of Optimize, the Prime podcast. The last one we recorded, I said breaking the cycles, and I completely messed it up. So I'm Lazina, and I'm here with my co-host Nasheed, who's coming all the way from Bangladesh, and we are here with Shaina today. And for me, Shaina is the burnout queen. Like absolutely, absolutely amazing her understanding of how burnout plays a role. And today we want to have a conversation about the inner battle between us that overextends to survive, and that part of us that's finally learning to choose ease and self-respect. So Shayna, please tell us a little about yourself, and Nasheed, chime in anytime, take over, stop me from talking, mute me as well if you need to.
Same.
Let's get to it.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Lazina and Nasheed, for joining me this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you're from, right? So Lazina said I'm the burnout queen, but technically my title I would call myself is the connection queen.
That's
And
true. Very
yes,
true. Thank you. I stand corrected.
I love it. You put the two together.
Yes.
It works. It works
Right.
just fine.
Yes.
So I am a wife of a logger. I am a lover of Jesus. I am a giver of permission. And I have been through burnout and I help others through it. I'm a motivational coach and speaker and author. And I'm just excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Now, what is your lens as far as I want you to define for us what does the connection connector means? What is a burnout my quote burnout queen means to you, and also the permission giver, because I feel like that those are very, it can mean different things to different people, and your lens that comes from your experience and your heart would be give more context to that.
Gosh, where do I start? That was a big question. That was like a 7-part question.
I
7
do.
plots, right, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Um, I would say at first, if we start with myself and the Connection Queen title,
Mhm.
it would be that it started from a place of where I came from. And it was this, and then also just who we are as
Mhm.
humans. We need connection, period.
Yeah.
And being the Connection Queen, it was a lot of connecting the dots and connecting hearts within how life and business intermingles.
Hmm.
And like where that all comes from is giving of permission, like permission to just be human, permission to go out and do the weird thing because the 3 dots connected for you that connect differently for somebody else.
Hmm.
And when we can have those conversations and be in ourselves and then be in our business and be who we are, we have permission to do so. And in turn, it creates connection.
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah. Um, when did you first realize that resilient wasn't strength, that it was survival?
Well, being the connection queen, I had a lot of connections.
Hmm.
And it started actually, that title came when I was still working my corporate job as a salesperson. I
Okay.
was in contract laundry sales.
Hmm.
And I made a lot of really cool connections because it wasn't just about the sale. It was about how are you going to connect me to this that's going to connect me, right? Like it's not just about that one to one, it's about one to many.
Mhm.
And yet that one person, if we stay to the one to one, they need that connection so that they can feel the spread of that. So they can be infected, right? Like with that goodness, with that connection. And so I had built this beautiful network and web and safety net, if I could call it that. And then I had a tragedy.
Mhm.
And I've spoken to Lizina about this, but my first son was stillborn and my world crashed, or I thought it did, but I had this huge safety net. And so many people were like, "Oh, you're so strong." And like that, just, I don't know, the kind of cliche around all of that.
Mhm.
But I was, because of my connections. And that, that is resilience.
Mhm.
Like having that soft place to land. One of those pieces is connection. It's that soft place to land when you're at your worst, right? Where everything is tough, where you're just having a bad day. Like connection can meet you where you're at. And the more connection we have, the better, mm, the better we connect with each other because we know who can handle that type of thing that you're going through.
Yeah.
Because even if I compare it to my husband, he had 3 connections. I had 3,000.
Mm.
And so he leaned on me and my connections when
Yeah.
we lost our son, right? And so, yet those 3,000, only 3 of them understood,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But if you only have 3 to pick from, they only understand a fraction,
Yeah.
right? And so then even just going through day to day, going to burnout, right? Like, what is wrong with me or all these things? When you have a vast array of connections, you can say, "Oh, Lazina would understand.
Yeah.
Nasheed would understand," right? And so, connection.
Yeah. Nashid, I feel like you have shared something similar when it comes to connection, and it's part of why we started the podcast too, right? Is to build community and being able to have. Can you share a little bit of your perspective on that?
Yeah, so definitely. Like the main objective of our podcast is something like we were talking like there are a lot of people have their own stories, and if we can connect them and we can share the stories in any form, like in podcasts or in the social connects and everything. Good part is the podcast, so that their stories can be heard, and the people who are like struggling behind with the same reasons they can resonate and say like, okay, I'm not alone. I can be what they're feeling, and I can put their shoes, right. And people, everyone is struggling because I was walking with my friend today, and we were talking with the, like the midlife crisis and others and everything, and everybody's struggling. And when we talk my stories to him, his stories to mine, and say like, no way, and we have a couple of people, right, the subject matter experts, the good connections, a lot of the people, right. So even though like I know you like Shana right now, and I know Lizana, and if we have any struggling points, I know where to find Lizana, and I can put a message and to her, even though she's like 1,000 miles away, and she can get my message and say like, okay, Rashid, I think my session is doing that and everything. That's a healing part. Like you don't need people to be around to you. So that's how I measure my connections. And yeah, and going for like I tell my kids like you may have right now a lot of people to be your friends, families and everything. But going back when you be in the mature stage, right? Right? You don't need too many friends. You need couple of friends who can be your side, right? Even though you have a lot of friends, and going to the next your life and everything, even the people you don't be a friend in your school life and everything, they are one of your best friends right now because they know and they cannot judge like, hey, Nashid in class 6, Nashid in class 7, or Lazana in her mid-age or in her early life. So we cannot rationalize that, and we don't know that story, right? So it's a good one. So for me, connections with the people is something like we need to learn, and learning never stop. Like today, I was listening to another podcast, listening to the beautiful ladies, and I was like, okay, all right, there's a lot of stories to be here, and there's a lot of stories to listen. Because like I said to the listener, right, so my grandmother always tell me, like, when you are having an ups and down, always look down. So I was little, right? So I was little kid, and I looked down and I said, like, all I can see is my feet and the ground. So you said to me, look down. And she said, no, I'm not talking about look down, I'm talking about look down and see other people's sufferings. If you don't find it, go to an hospital, go to the road, go to the people, ask to the people, and you can see that you are always better off. And that's, I take it as for my connections, Rajana, right? So
Yeah.
the podcast, and the real objective of this podcast is like to connect with the people and listen their stories, spread the words, and be a part of it so that we can change millions' life. Probably, not now, but we see the traction, honestly.
Plant the seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I resonate with the connection too, because I do believe like as our core human need is connection. That's part of expansion and growth and just being a part of the journey of life itself. It is in connection. I value connection so much that it's one of the reasons why the relationship repair language book came out, because it's allowing people to be in better connection with each other and go beyond the behaviors, look and see what's really in our hearts. Like a lot of times when we get into conflict, it's because we're somebody's who just really wanting to be seen. Like, here, look at my effort. This is how much I'm putting in effort to meet you, and it's not being recognized, and I'm going to get mad about it, and then we end up in conflict, and then we separate. But ultimately, we really want to have a better way of connecting to one another. So I genuinely love your connection queen title as well. um, I think it's very, it resonates very deeply within all of us on this call right now. Yeah. And
Cool.
the other part of it is somebody was telling me today, because they were asking me how am I doing, and I'm like, I got sick earlier this week, and I feel like I'm behind, and I'm like, I really need to take some time and just not do anything at all, and just check in with myself. So someone was like asking me, "So how are you feeling, or you have to be careful that you don't hit burnout." And for me, I know what burnout feels like, when I was working from survival mode and straight up not knowing my purpose or being guided or doing something that I love. Burnout. It was just heavy, and it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was dragging. It had a whole effect on my physical, emotional, and mental state, you know. But I didn't know that the word was burnout. I didn't know to the degree or anything that was. And oftentimes we need to name whatever we're feeling, or we're just kind of living in it. So, for you, I'm sorry, for you, Shayna, and since I feel like this is in your world and your realm, I'd like to hear more about your experiences with it.
Yeah. I think for myself with burnout, it came or was discovered through my language, like my
Mhm.
self-talk, through my narrative. I was like, what's wrong with me? Or this isn't how this goes on a Tuesday, or right? Like this isn't how it felt last week, right? If you're especially as women when we're caught in the consistency cycle.
Mhm.
That's a good
Because
ooh,
yeah.
I like that. Okay.
Well, consistency is a very masculine term and state of being,
Mhm.
right? Whereas rhythm is a very feminine
Okay,
word
dropping
and
some
state of
wisdom here. Okay, sorry. Yes. Come on. Okay.
yes. Okay.
Continue.
So,
Yeah, I'm
yes,
enjoying, right?
yes. So separating the two and
Mhm.
knowing, okay, these are the two, like the masculine and the feminine, which we can
Yes.
all exist in, right? So separating the two and saying, okay, if consistency is not serving my femininity, like how do I balance those two?
Right.
And for myself, I found that it was systems. And so having technology and systems like something that'll schedule my posts on social media and right, like
Yeah.
to please the consistency ness of the world,
Yes.
right? So having that, and then okay, so what then serves my rhythm, right? Because as women, we are cycling beings, so we have a natural rhythm anyway.
Mhm.
And so having kind of traveled into this over the course of a few years, like losing my son and then having a
Yeah.
rainbow baby girl, and then having my business kind of walk through the momentum that it had created. And I found myself kind of at this not ground zero, not at like rock bottom, but just at a like at a pace or at a zero, right? Not
Mhm.
ground zero, but just at a okay, now that I've ridden all of that out, now I have to pick up the pieces and keep going. But I didn't pick up all the right pieces.
Mm,
And
Mm.
so I got a few months into my kind of revival of my business and it started. I was like, what is wrong with me? What this isn't how it used to feel, right? Like all of that. And we can even just say that of like normal untraumatized motherhood or, a big life change or moving to a different city or like we might not pick up all the right pieces. And so those triggers or those thoughts that came to my mind, like I was saying, my narrative, it was, what's wrong with me? This isn't how it used to feel. Right. And so then I paused and I went back. I'm like, okay, as much as like I can't go back to who I was, there are pieces of my systems and my consistencies and my rhythms that I can bring forward.
Yeah.
And
mm,
one of them, um, my coach at the time or prior, right, in the past, my coach in the past, back when I felt good or whatever it might have been, right? She had advised me to take on my one-to-one clients every other week. And her thought and it definitely had worked in a place where then I had weeks that were in my business and weeks that were on my business,
Mhm.
right? So I could kind of separate the two and have the brain space and the rhythm
Yeah.
built in. And so I was like, okay, that's a piece I'm missing now. So I'll plug that back in. And I wonder if I had accidentally synced with my cycle back then. So then I became more conscious about my cycle
Yeah.
and I plugged it in directly to my cycle versus accidentally, right?
Yeah.
Like,
mhm,
because we grow and we shift and we learn and we change. We're new people moving forward, even picking up old pieces that are serving us. And so I picked up those pieces and I plugged those in and learning more about my cycle and that rhythm and consistency, right? The difference between those two. Plugging in that cycle awareness, it's
Yeah.
something I did in my journal, anchoring amidst, in a very subtle, gentle way that doesn't feel like it's this huge to do,
mhm,
but it's hey, you might need some extra love this week, whatever week it is for you in your cycle. So maybe start there,
Yeah.
right? But it's not something that would totally throw you off if you didn't know anything about your cycle or what have you. So I
Mhm.
love being able to give that as well.
Yeah. I really like that because for me, I tend to my body tends to tell me when I'm gonna hit like I need some self-care. So I don't know if I shared this, but my tailbone will start it'll feel like it's on fire, it's always hurting whenever I start to feel unsupported. And whenever I'm doing too much, I call that my masculine energy, my left shoulder will start to hurt more than normal. So it's like once I start to feel those two things, I'm like, okay, that's my physical body already giving me cues. I don't want it to go and affect my emotions and my mental state. That's for me to pause and, take some time to self-care and that. But what you're saying is that you get into a rhythm where I like how you broke it down. Some days you're working on your business and some days you're working in it. And when you put the time where you know that you're going to need extra love, you bake it in there.
Mm.
You get on this nice rhythm. So it's not the burnout. You can prevent the burnout before it even happened. You've already given yourself so much room to breathe, that it's just flowing and it's being in the state of flow. I really like that perspective. I hadn't really thought of it in that way before. That's really valuable.
Yeah.
Nasheed, how do you notice if you're going into burnout?
Yeah. So, um, when I worked in the corporate life, right? So, um, I had like similar areas like of the burnouts. It's something like no, it's not like the six-figure salaries or the task and everything, but I was feeling that I am not going the right path. What I'm doing in terms of my growth and everything. So
Mhm,
I was in that period of time. It's like I said, like corporate burnout. Like you're not growing.
mhm,
And then when I stepped into the entrepreneurship, like the similar case happened. Like no, there were times when we were struggling to give the salary to the people. There were times because we started back in 2018, COVID hits, then we survive in the COVID, then the recession hits, we survive in the recessions, then the war comes, we survive in the war. And after 7 years, I thought of myself, why? So many burnouts, so many things, but still we are surviving. So lot of things in the burnout, and the point of that period of time is like the
mhm,
patience and the sustainability, and less expectations. Most of the people fail during the burnout is like over expectations, and they were running out of the clue, and not finding any areas to improve or how to overcome, right? So that's the thing I learned during these 7 years of my time.
mhm,
But and how to chase these burnouts, like if you it's something like a comfort zone type. Like if you can overcome one burnout, two burnouts, and everything, your body, your mind, your mindsets, right, can see like, okay, something is coming. Let's see what happens. We have to go with the flow, right? So a lot of the times, and even in the families as well, right? So we've been struggling because my two daughters were suffering severe eczemas during that time. Still, they're sufferings, but we had a lot of like let's say sleepless nights because the flare goes up 2 a.m. at night, and she was like scratchings. There were times when the bloods on the bed sheets and everything, and we were like struggling. So for me, burnout is not only for the cash, life, and everything. It's something like many areas, and to overcome that situations, you need to, yeah, one of the areas, if you are in the religions, that really helps. Meditations, religion, point of time, asking gods to survive. There's one areas, persistence, patience, and talking to each others. Like okay, and I opened one of my sites, or one of my group, like we call like eczema support group Bangladesh, where we support to the parents, like the ones we didn't get. Because 2 a.m. at night, I called my doctor and said, like, my daughters are scratching. And he said, like, okay, all right. So I asked him, like, should we give the moisturizer, Vaselines, and everything? He said, like, yeah, you can give. And all I asked, and he's like replying that, okay. And then at 3 a.m., I said of myself, like, what should I do? And then I go and learn and talk to the other doctors. And that period of time, we decided to change the doctors and everything, because we cannot I cannot learn the doctors in their own way, right?
yeah,
Even though I'm stuck, right? So there are a lot of areas, there are a lot of things we learned during the burnout, and I do appreciate that you need burnouts in your life, trust me. And
mhm,
that really puts you from point A to point B. And that's what we are here to do about these episodes, right? To listen for Sheena's burnouts and others,
mhm.
and share the words, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate your perspective. Definitely. I think now one of the things that I like is whenever I hear a different perspective, I like to think about, okay, how does this apply to me? How have I been doing it? How can I incorporate what I've just learned? And how can I also incorporate that into my future messages, and I think that's a very good, like, yeah, I love that perspective a lot. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Um As far as when it comes to the permission part of our conversation, I never heard anyone say you have to give yourself permission outside of this inner child workshop that I go to. Um, and it's really profound to me because a lot of times I look for others to give me permission. I'll even like being in meetings or yeah, mostly especially at work and meetings, I would need the leaders or the managers or other people to I needed that validation as well. It seems like the permission was for me to get validation. But that's on like on a different I feel like that's also in a different space emotionally to feel validated. But when I started to really look at how I can give myself permission to thrive, how I can give myself permission to show up without needing it from others, it felt more empowering and it felt like I was no longer putting my worth in someone else's hands. I knew where that was coming from internally. So, of course, I want to know both of your perspective on, permission. Sheena, of course, you first, because I feel like it's got some wisdom there too.
I think permission starts with boundaries.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so as you're going about, right? Like you were saying, you were seeking it from others.
Mhm.
And so when we are setting boundaries with others and with ourselves and with that thing that's inside of us, right? Of whatever we want this to look like.
Yeah.
As we set those little boundaries, those are great little permission givers. They create that buffer
Mhm.
distance, right? Between the thing that maybe um eh, I guess the words that are coming to me are like maybe that thing that hurts us or that doesn't serve us or what have you, right? Um and so having that buffer is a big deal. And then your permission then becomes that buffer to
Yeah.
start and then having a coach like one of us in the room,
Mhm.
right? Having a coach that says, "Okay, like what else do you have? Like let's go." Right? And when they can be like, "Wait, I can just like do this?"
Yeah.
They have this aha moment of, "Oh, so me just saying this idea or dream or perspective out loud allows me to act on it?" Like it's just this beautiful give and take of giving permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. What do you think, Nishit?
Yeah, similar. Like a lot of the times, right? A lot of the times we we see that in a different way. It's something like when we are struggling with the point of time, and we asked the people like to share and to know, and many of the times I see that if you don't do the conversations, right? If you don't give another one to ask the permission, like, "Hey, how are you?" or something like that, that's really you're killing yourself. You're not pushing your thoughts, and you're keeping inside, and
Yeah.
that's gonna be burst like an atomic bomb, right? So you need to share their inner thoughts to the people. I'm not saying like you just go in the social media and say like, "I'm struggling with the family, I'm struggling with my kids, I'm struggling with my business." Not like that. You need to find and choose couple of people. It's not gonna be or shouldn't be your own best friends or your parents or your everything. The people you trust, the people you see he or she is there to help you, or and to tell. It's not going to be you tell to, let's say I tell to Lizena, like, yeah, I'm struggling with it, and she said like, oh, all right, okay, that's good, and she will send to 20 messages to all the people, hey, now she's struggling. No, that's not the point. The
Right.
point is like, hey, yeah, I'm struggling with that. How you can overcome? And she may come up with a lot of suggestions, or she may end up with a lot of lousy suggestions. But even though she come up with the lousy suggestions, that may heal you, because you are only asking or trying to receive the honest suggestions,
Yeah.
but the lousy or the silly suggestions may help you to overcome, like, all right, that's a
Mhm.
good one. So what I see is like you need to have, yeah, some sort of a permissions to the people you love, you like, or maybe sharing your stories, and that's how you heal yourself coming out of the burnouts. And that's really important. That's really important. People do struggle, the suicides, the points, and a lot of us are sharing about like the womanhoods and the struggling points and everything, the abusement and everything. I talked to so many people, and you know what? I found out, like, the guys, the men are also struggling.
Yeah.
And the point is, because I was talking to one of the app in Bangladesh called Maya. Maya is something like, it's this part of the world. I'm living in Bangladesh, like the Asian parts and everything. The girls are really shy. They don't want to talk about the abuse and other part to anyone. So the Maya app, there is a doctor inside. It's a different name, right?
Mm.
So they pushed and popped the notifications. It's like they are struggling and the doctors are surviving, and so giving the suggestions like, hey, you are doing and everything. So when they opened their app, they found out, okay, there are a lot of responses from the women's side or the girl side, but there are a lot more than from the men's side.
Mm.
Because even you are having a kid, or you're in the family, even they are walking 2 years, you know what, 2 years, daughter is running or the girl is running, you will keep on eye, okay, she's running. The 2 years son or the guy or the little boy is running, you said like, oh, don't worry, he's a boy, just a boy. And that's the fair parties all around, right?
Yeah.
Even our caretaker, the caregivers are not the one who's doing that. So that's the area where we need to talk, and that's the area we need to share.
Mm.
That's the area we need to do some suggestions. We need to ask for. It's not for ask for help. It's ask for guidance.
Mm.
Maybe you are not the one who are in the same positions, but maybe you're the one who can really heal us and to overcome these burnout, struggling points in areas.
Mhm.
That's how I find my connections, and trust me, it's really working.
Yeah.
I have very few friends right now. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, but I have very few friends whom I give the permissions to connect,
Yeah.
like opening the portal, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
But then having a space like this allows for that deeper connection to your story, to other stories, right? Kind of like that spider web out to where there might be someone that says, that's totally out of your circle and your realm, that says, oh, Nasheed would understand,
Yes.
right? And
absolutely.
because you're here, that means you gave them that little permission slip, right? Not the full one, right?
Yeah.
But that little one that says, hey, there might be a connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reason. Like in the coaching areas, you do understand that we open our discovery calls, right? Okay, let's have a 45-minute discovery call, one to one, because you come to me or I come to you, and knowing that, okay, maybe this is the one I can get some help, and then you open up with that, okay, and then we can scale up, okay, let's sit a couple of hours and we can get the job done and everything, so that you give the permission to open up, and you don't know like who is there and who is in your connections as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the I think when it comes to a lot of in the coaching space or in the business space or the space where we are living in our purpose, and we've come up with something great that we feel is a need, right? In the middle of it is the connection part, because everybody's struggling with that very thing, is being able to have supporters and people who are around us and people who want to uplift us and grow with us. And it can be very disconnecting when, let's say, you're on LinkedIn and someone sends a message, and really the message is so cold, it has no kind of I you're pitching me, I don't even, or sending me what you do. I don't want that kind of connection because to me that's not personable. I don't know you. I have no idea. Like, say hello. Let's connect first. And that's what those discovery calls are. I find that I've heard this, and sometimes with myself, when there's a connection call, the fear is what's at the end of the connection call. It means I may have to make a decision that I'm not ready to make, and I've not really even looked and see why I'm even resistant to the
Mhm,
decision, and I've just now robbed myself of a good connection, of really knowing somebody else, be seeing, witnessing someone and feeling witnessed, or being seen, vice versa. And we just kind of like, we let that keep us back. And so, what are the effects of that? We've blocked connection. We're now working on our own. We're now hitting up the burnout, and we've not given ourselves the permission to thrive. Uh,
mhm,
so I feel like, opening up the space so that we could talk about what we do, how we help people show each other's lens, and then we can come together in other ways to, to just to support each other and each other's businesses and each other's lives, because we're no longer just, two people who did a discovery call. We're now people who are connected. And if I have a discovery call with someone and they don't necessarily need what I have, that doesn't mean that I didn't get value from them or there wasn't value that it was exchanged, because we all know somebody who's going
mhm.
to need something in life. We can't get rid of needs. It's part of the human journey. So I really appreciate the perspective on the thoroughness of it. Now, Sheena, I have this thing where I think and I everybody has a unique way of looking at the world. And for me, based on my life experiences, I look at the needs in any given situation. What does this need? And most of the time, it just needs some love and compassion, But in the business sense, also, what does this particular thing need? Okay, maybe it may need consistency. Maybe it may need rhythm. Maybe it may need um, automation, whatever the case is, right? And I think what I've experienced with Nasheed is, his lens is stepping out of the comfort zone, because that's been the biggest way that I've, felt like he's gotten to his true self. And then when it comes to you, I really like this lens of, the recognizing, setting yourself up with the burnout to prevent the burnout, having the importance of the connection and the, permission. So how did you get to that lens? Like, how did that formulate in your head?
Um,
Or the
it
dots?
was a
How did the
lot.
dots connect? Sorry.
Right, like, how did I connect those
Yeah,
dots?
yeah.
It was a lot of self-reflection, it was a lot of journaling,
Mhm,
um, getting out the negative
mhm,
narratives, the ones that were keeping me down
mhm.
in a way, right? So finding some of those friends that I could just kinda spew some of that ugliness on, and I knew they wouldn't take it on for themselves,
Yeah.
right? But then it became this mission of, okay, so how do I help others survive?
Yeah.
Right? How do I help others like create that soft place to land that says, hey, I can do anything,
Mhm.
right? If someone feels like they're cycling through burnout, it takes a couple more cycles before they start really recognizing, right? They raised their hand, they said, "Hey, I'm ready to get out of this cycle." And then now it's recognizing and following that, right? So from there, it became, okay, how do I help people? So it was digging through old journals. It was digging through notebooks from my notes section from a convention that I went to, or that master class that I attended, or that free webinar that wasn't one of those fake urgency ones,
Mhm.
right? Like where I actually got something out of, right?
Yeah.
That value exchange. And I started piecing that all together. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, so where is the momentum and where is the motivation from all of that that says, okay, I can do this,
Yeah.
right? Where you can build those little tiny things into everything that you do.
Yeah. That's pretty cool because I think the the natural saying is you got to find something that you love in order to, you want to you want to have a business, you have to find something that you love, and the questions are usually geared towards finding something, but I feel like there's a little bit of it that's missing, because especially if if we're talking to someone who is very young and hasn't doesn't really know what they want out of life, asking them like what you're passionate about and turning that into um a job isn't necessarily going to be as exciting, because they really haven't had the chance to sit down and really break down what the negatives were, what they were struggling with, and getting to the other side of that struggle to see that path to say, oh, wait, this is the thing that connects me to what I want to do and how I want to teach and share it with the world. So, yeah,
I think,
I always like to know how people got to their thing, it's always.
well, and I think, Lazina, I think it goes back to the question you ask.
Mhm.
What is the need?
Yes.
And that it mostly just needs love.
Yeah.
And so if you are doing something that you don't necessarily hate, you don't necessarily love, well, find the love,
Yeah.
find the passion, because that can be, in some ways, not in all ways,
Yeah.
but it can be curated. It
Yes.
can be created. And especially when you zoom out and you say, what does this need? Where is the love?
Yeah. And that's
Right?
an
Without
eh,
cueing the music, right?
yeah. And now the song played in my head there for a second. Where is the love? And I love the zoomed out effect too. I think we shared it on my other podcast where whenever life is happening, zooming out and seeing the bigger picture and then coming back in to have some direction
Mhm.
can be very comforting. While we still have to go through it to heal, but at least having that bigger picture zooming out thing can be such a lovely experience in itself. Yeah. Nishi, do you have anything?
No, no,
No.
I'm just listening that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So before
um,
we wrap up, if you guys can give our listeners one permission for today in their life, what would that message be?
Sheena.
I didn't
All
hear
right.
you, Nasheed. Oh, you
No,
asked Shaina.
I
Okay.
was referring, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it goes to do the next right thing. Like, whatever it is, I don't care if it's a bubble bath on a Tuesday, or, picking up the phone and calling grandma, or picking up the phone and calling that client
Yeah.
that you haven't, had the courage to call back.
Hmm.
Everything in between, because it all moves the needle in connection, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's connection with yourself, connection with others, connection with your faith. And when we have that, when we know what the next right thing is, we can actually create that momentum,
Yeah.
right? And that motivation to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
I
So
love that.
Right.
Thank you very much.
mm,
That's very good
Thank you.
advice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do have a map for that as
Oh.
well.
Oh,
I'm
and how can
happy to share.
yeah, how can we get a hold of this map?
It's on my anchoringamidst.com
Mm-hmm.
resource page.
Okay.
So just look for the resilience map.
The resilience map. Got it. And we'll make sure
Okay.
we put that in our notes as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And people can download, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
that's good.
yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. If from me, I think my message would always be, give yourself permission to receive. Receiving is very important.
And
Well,
for me, it's like to know yourself and trust yourself, right? And give yourself a permission first, because you need to know yourself first to know the others, right? So sometimes what we think is like we always care for others, and we're not listening to ourselves, like what our mind wants, and because we are putting into the like journey, the time sheets, like you have to do that, you have to do that. How these your society will tell, how your friends will tell. And even though we are closing to the mid 50s, there are a lot of the times, couple of our friends still think what we were in the schools,
Yeah.
right? So I heard one of my friends, uh, in Microsoft, and you know that there, when you work in the Microsoft, you need to be a very, very good, like techie peoples, and some point of time, and they're like still gossiping, like he was not a very good student. How the hell he joined Microsoft? Even we are in 50s. Come on. All right. So you need to trust yourself. And I was telling to my friend, like, look, and he said, like, you need to trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can join to Microsoft. It's something like you need to trust yourself. You need to have your connections, and you need to let other people to connect, and all the good people. Because no matter what, if you can open your connections to the people to know, and things will come. Things will come, and people will come.
Yes, I agree. Well, on that note, we will see you all on another episode. Thank you, Shaina, for joining us this lovely day. I know for Nasheed, it's Sunday for him.
Yeah, We started the podcast in Saturday and ended up with Sheena on Sunday
Yes.
because it's the middle 1 a.m. at night,
Yes. Thank you very
because
much.
we love the podcast.
That's right. This is us living our dreams.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a joy to have you.